Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Also heard on the radio, 101.5 KDON and 840 KXNT in Las Vegas, both Odyssey stations. We appreciate you being with us if you're listening to us there. Also, not to forget, the video brought to you by our good friends at Sleeper Picks and at Hog Media. We will get to some picks for Thursday night's game using the Sleeper Picks app. So stick around for that as well. Scalco Branson back with Mo Moton. Mo's a senior NFL writer at Bleacher Report. You can catch him on X at Mo Moton, MoEMoton. I am at LV Gully. The show is SNB today. Okay, Raider Nation, you got through your victory Monday. They feel good, don't they? Yes. A road victory to start off the season, the Pete Carroll era, the Geno Smith era, the John Spytek era, the Chip Kelly era, however you want to talk about, things clicked for the Raiders, especially in the second half of this game. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we get going. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your audio. Do us a favor and make sure you rate and review wherever you listen to it. And don't forget, if you're watching us on video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Also, subscribe and hit that notifications bell. That way you know we have a whole new video up for you to watch. All right, Mo, this is the first time you and I have had a chance to talk since the game. Just an interesting, I think, point to make here is a lot of Raider fans, the first half was dicey. They came out, Chip Kelly's scripted first drive went great. It looked fantastic. You're like, wow, this Raider team is throwing the ball all over the place. You had Ashton Genty, had a couple of nice runs. The offensive line stuck together in that first one. Then the rest of the second half, they struggled on offense. Defense as well, just looked a little bit slow, a little bit out of place. But then those halftime adjustments, Mo, we talk about them all the time here. They went in, made those adjustments. Pete and Carroll is now 4-0 in his debut as a head coach with a new team. He has a 25-11 record. You talked about this last week when he takes teams out for an early kickoff on that East Coast. As much as the numbers go against teams going east, Pete Carroll has done a good job of that. Want to get your first impressions of how this game went down, what you learned from it that maybe you didn't know before. We'll get to the concerns in segment 2, and then segment 3, of course, we'll get to your phone calls. But, Mo, give me your lowdown on this game, what you thought. I know you wrote about it for sportsnot.com on Monday morning, but give us your sense for what you liked about what you saw in this team overcoming a little bit of adversity in that first half.
First and foremost, want to validate the comment that I made in July that the deep ball attack is back for the Raiders. A lot of people brushed it off. It was just practice. Not just practice. You saw Trey Tucker score the early touchdown on the first drive, 26-yard pass to him. You saw at the end of the game, Geno Smith trusted the rookie wide receiver and Dante Thornton Jr. to make a big play downfield to help seal that game and burn out an extra minute of clock time so the Patriots had less time to make that comeback. So with those two guys on the perimeter, teams now have to respect the speed and the deep ball threat. Also, Kyu Blu Kelly had a pretty good game as cornerback number 2.
Indeed.
I know it's just one game. I wouldn't say pretty good. I would say it was solid. They went after him quite a bit. I believe he was targeted 8 times. Didn't allow any explosive plays, so I think that's the most important thing, that he didn't allow too many things over the top. And then Tommy Eichenberg, not Liam Eichenberg, but Tommy Eichenberg coming in for Landon Roberts, who sprained his elbow. Pete Carroll said he felt like Tommy Eichenberg answered the call pretty well in his Monday presser. Developmental linebacker, he's going to be in a rotation if Landon Roberts is out, but it's good to see Tommy Eichenberg get in there and make some improvements and show some development.
No question about it. And we'll talk about the defense because, man, I thought the defense, as worried as I was about it going into the game for all the reasons we've talked about for weeks here on the show, especially that defensive backfield. You just mentioned Kyu Blu Kelly, who had a nice game, including, I thought, a great defensive play, which he got called for PI on. But that aside, did well. And like you said, nobody got burned. Nobody looked horrific out there. In fact, it was the opposite of that. First, focus on the offense here, and then we'll get into defense with a little more juice here. But you look at Geno Smith, Raider Nation. Now you know what it's like to have a real solid, calm quarterback. He set a Raiders debut record for passing yards He passed Dan Pastorini's 317 yards in 1980 and tied the team record since 1991, with 9 passes of 20 plus yards. Geno Smith, you mentioned he connected quickly with Brock Bowers for 23 yards on the very first snap of the game. Then he found Trey Tucker for the touchdown on the opening drive. Jacoby Myers, of course, was there and did what he needed to do and furthered his cause of the pay me rotation there. But certainly having Geno Smith there, and again, he threw the ugly pick in the first half. It happens. But I will tell you that just having him there, and Pete Carroll mentioned this both post game and on Monday's press conference, talking about, look, Geno's been here. It doesn't rattle him. It's not like you got a guy out there with a year or 2 years of experience who hasn't been through the fire like Geno Smith. But Mo, again, I think it just shows you what a quarterback who can stick in the pocket under pressure. And again, the offensive line, we'll talk about some of those struggles too, but they gave him most of the game. Now, there were times, of course, he got sacked 3 times, and we know that, but they gave him a clean pocket enough. And when you give a guy like Geno Smith a clean pocket and you have the weapons like Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton Jr., he's going to find them.
I could tell a lot of people who cover the Raiders and a lot of fans hadn't watched a lot of Geno Smith in the last 2 years. There was a question about, is this Geno Smith's breakout game? And Pete Carroll was like, wait, we've seen this before. This is part of the norm. This is part of the Geno Smith experience. Throwing for 300 plus yards is not a Geno Smith anomaly. He's been doing this for 2 years now as a starter. So get acquainted with that. Get used to seeing 300 plus yards for the passing game out of Geno Smith going forward. This is who he is, especially when he gets inside of a dome. Remember, Pastor Mike behind bars brought up the stat. So especially when the Raiders are at home, you're going to see 300 passing yard games. You may even see a 400-yard game in there somewhere. But with Geno Smith behind center, now Trey Tucker gets elevated. His production should go up. Dante Thornton Jr. should develop pretty quickly. Jacoby Myers is going to put up his numbers. And assuming Brock Bowers is okay, is going to continue to play at an all-pro level.
Right. And don't forget, remember, my X factor, not just because he's a Notre Dame guy, but Michael Mayer showed exactly what can happen in this offense when you have that 2 tight end set, 12-13 personnel. And boy, I'm telling you, when those guys, when they double off Bowers or they got Bowers covered up and you have Michael Mayer out there, you saw him make that great catch down the stretch as well. This is a guy who catches the ball. Remember, I think people forget because Josh McDaniels did use him poorly. And of course, that led to whatever happened personally with Michael Mayer. He missed some time with the team, but he's come back. He looks great. He looks like the guy that went in the draft as one of I think one of the draft prognosticators said at the time, this was the steal of the draft for the Raiders under Tom Telesco at the time when they grabbed Michael Mayer. So again, you have that. Then we talk about Ashton Jeanty. Some people disappointed in Ashton Jeanty. I get it from a numbers perspective, a yardage perspective. He did get his first NFL touchdown. Pete Carroll mentioned in the press conference on Monday, Mo, that he was a little bit amped up. He was a little excited. He's a rookie, carried the ball 19 times. And he might have been less patient than he was in college, looking for those openings, looking for those chances. I expect that to turn around pretty quickly.
Yeah. So part of the run game is obviously the running back. The other part is the offensive line. Right. Pete Carroll also said in that same presser on Monday that the offensive line has to work on their combination blocks, when to get off double teams, and they hadn't played together as a unit for a long time. And as time goes on, they'll get used to playing with each other and get used to each other's tendencies. So let's not leave that out. This is that's also part of the equation. I was more disappointed in the offensive line than Ashton Jeanty. We'll get to that in the second segment. But Ashton Jeanty as a player, I'm not ringing the alarm bells. He averaged 2 yards per carry behind an offensive line that didn't get much push up front. Yes, he was amped in his first NFL game and debut, but he had a key touchdown in the third quarter to help the Raiders get up big.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the big story here, I think, is the defense, particularly in the second half. You look at Drake May. First half, Drake May I said it on X during the game. He looked too comfortable. And I said last week that if you allow Drake May to be comfortable, I'm not crowning him Josh Allen, come back against the Ravens. But I'm saying if you let that guy be comfortable, he's going to find time. He was 15 to 20 for 150 yards and a touchdown in the first half. But then they go in at halftime, and that switch is flipped. You have Isaiah Polamalu again with an interception on that third down pass from Drake May in the opening drive of the third quarter. That was a costly mistake. That really shifted momentum, and that's exactly what we didn't see last year. The Raiders made some nice defensive plays in spots last year, but what we didn't see was that big play where you could feel momentum switch. That was definitely one of them. Then you look at the Raiders, they scored 10 unanswered points in the second half, and the defense held New England to just a field goal in the final two quarters. Man, this defense and Patrick Graham, who you can tell had some influence from a Mr. Pete Carroll on how he was scheming against the Patriots. But man, that second half was a beauty, especially when you looked at Eldon Roberts go out with the injury. You have Tommy Eichenberg, who you mentioned earlier, came in and did a great job filling in there. So you got to like how this team, and now it is a work in progress, Mo, but that second half, that's exactly what you need to see out of this defense.
I had my post-game Bleacher Report live, and I asked, and this is a serious question, is Isaiah Polamalu the best coverage safety that the Raiders have right now? And that's not a diss to Jeremy Chin, who allowed a touchdown to Pop Douglas early in that game. Jeremy Chin, you can check me if I'm wrong on this, has 3 career interceptions. He's not a ball hawk.
No.
Is he a versatile chess piece? Yes. He can play multiple positions well? Yes. But he's not a ball hawk. We've seen Isaiah Polamalu make these plays in the preseason. I know it's the preseason against second and third stringers, but he has a nose for the football when it comes to the coverage pass game. We've seen him come up with these plays before. Now he's doing it in the regular season, which is a good sign. Didn't have any interceptions last year in 14 starts, 17 games, but to get that interception and flip the field for the Raiders was huge. You also have to give love to the pass rush. Raiders had 4 sacks. Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, Max Crosby helped close out that game on the defensive side of the ball, and the Raiders hit the quarterback 9 times. So in that second half, not only did they get the turnover, but they were getting to the quarterback, which helps the secondary.
Yeah, and that was huge. And you mentioned Max Crosby's first game since ankle surgery, 5 pressures and a sack in the second half alone. And that was 11 pressures, as you mentioned, in the final 2 quarters. So when it mattered most, again, we talked about this last week, didn't we, Mo, that Pete Carroll's teams tend to play in close games, but they also tend to finish strongly. And we saw that again against, you mentioned Malcolm Kuntz, ACL tear, comes up with that clutch sack and a forced fumble in that fourth quarter as well. So, I mean, anything you wanted to, I think, maybe script out that the Raiders could do late in the game, they did. And I'm just looking at my notes here, too, because you talked about the defensive backfield. You talked about Jeremy Chin. And I think that's important for fans to understand is the role, right? You're not going to have Jeremy Chin out there picking the ball off. You're not going to have that. But the Raiders, in how they came back in this game, the confidence level, you mentioned this, I believe, on Thursday's show where you said, listen, going on the road with this new unit together, with this new regime, this new staff, it was so important for them to, yes, you wanted the win, but as long as they played well, didn't make critical errors all the time, and that's, I think, what we saw. We saw better than what I expected out of the defense. I expected the offense to score more, but of course, that first half was a rough go for them. But I'll tell you what, they just put it together. And Pete Carroll mentioned it. He said, man, that confidence is huge. You don't understand how big that is. Now they got to face the Chargers at home with some extra rest, which is good for Eldon Roberts and, of course, Brock Bowers. But this team showed some moxie. It showed that it's different. I think last year, this team, again, you got new players out there at the same time, but this was not a hallmark of this team last year. We saw them give up late leads, actually the last 4 years, right? We've seen this team just wilt down the stretch in games that they should have won, not so against New England up in Foxborough.
Right, and I just point to the biggest difference between this year's team and previous years. Aiden O'Connell at quarterback and Luke Getsy as a play caller, they don't make those plays down the stretch with the offense. That play to Geno Smith, I go back to that play where Geno Smith throws to Dante Thornton Jr.
Beautiful.
Aiden O'Connell doesn't make that throw, and Luke Getsy doesn't dial that play in that situation. It's probably a run play. The Raiders try to play it safe and just run the clock out and play not to lose, right? The Raiders were playing to win. They were playing to keep their foot on the Patriots' throat while they had a lead. And that's what they did, because that extra play to Dante Thornton Jr. in that drive, as I said, burned out an extra minute off the clock. gave the Patriots very little time to come back, and they didn't. And that's what it is. And you love to see that because I watched just about every game, a bit of every game on Sunday, and they were teams playing not to lose. And for once, as a person who's watched the Raiders for 25 plus years of my life, it was good to see the Raiders play not to lose and play to win and keep their foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah, and I know that the offense struggled after that first scripted drive, which went so perfectly. But if you look back at it, because I watched that film again, I watched the all 22 of that first half on offense, and the play calling was fine. Again, Chip Kelly, I think, dialed up exactly what you need. They couldn't execute for whatever reason, especially up front on the offensive line. We talked about that, and we'll talk about more in the second segment here. But it was there, and Geno Smith was getting frustrated. I think tried to force it, and that's why you saw the pickoff too. But that throw and that catch by Dante Thornton just shows the kind of talent of that but he had to come back for the ball and make a great catch to get it. But Geno Smith also had to put the ball where only he could get it with the game on the line, right? And that's exactly what he did. It's just being a gamer, man. It's incredible, and it's nice to see, not only for the Raiders, but of course for all of you in Raider Nation to see that. All right, we're going to take our first break where we're going to tell you a little bit about some sleeper picks. Yeah, we're going to give you some for Thursday night's game. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the challenges. We're going to talk about that offensive line. I was not happy at all and was pretty hard on Jackson Powers Johnson, who had a really rough game. And then we'll also talk about some of the defensive challenges that we saw during the win in New England. All right, we're going to do that. When we come back, we'll get right back to it. You're on Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports Original Podcast, brought to you on video by our good friends at Sleeper Picks, excuse me. And you're with Mo and Scott. Don't go anywhere. All right, Raider Nation, let us tell you about our great sponsor here, and that is Sleeper Picks. If you haven't tried Sleeper Picks yet, you need to. You got to check it out. If you're into daily fantasy and you want to make a little green, guess what? You can try Sleeper Picks. And I'll tell you what, Mo, I had fun with this app during the last weekend. We made some picks last week. But what we're going to do now is we're going to look at Thursday's game because guess what? Thanks to the folks at Sleeper Picks, you can get a $100 deposit match on your first $100 on the Sleeper app by using the special code that you can only get here, GENTY. That's GENTY, as in our buddy Ashton Genty. That's right. Use the code GENTY. You get a $100 match on your $100 deposit to play along with us there. You got to be able to do that, and we are glad to be a part of it. So get up and do that, and we're going to talk through some picks. We're going to look, Mo, at Thursday's game, and I'm gonna get your viewpoint here because, of course, we got the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, nice win against the Giants, and then, of course, Green Bay, who look solid. You ever heard of that guy wearing number 1 on Green Bay? I don't know where he came from. I mean, maybe Dallas, Jerry Jones, good one. But you have Jordan Love and the Packers, who had a very, very nice game against the NFC North Lions as well. So a big division win. We saw some big division wins across the league this week. But Mo, I want to look at this and see some of these picks that we can make up on Sleeper Picks. I'm going to let you pick this time. If we look at this, we got Jordan Love, we got Micah Parsons with the number of sacks, over a half sack, and then Jordan Love passing yards, Jaden Daniels. Pick a player, Mo. Terry McLaurin, of course. Austin Eckler, Romeo Dobbs. I mean, all these guys, Josh Jacobs, former Raider, had a nice game as well, including a touchdown. Give me a player, Mo, that I'm going to pay for this now, buddy. It's on me for you because, we're friends. So I want to be able to do that. But give me a player and let's take a look at them and let's pick 3 players here that we want to put some action on with the daily fantasy through Sleeper Picks.
I'll take the over on Jordan Love's passing yards. I'm not fooled by what I saw out of the Giants and the Commanders in week 1. The Giants passing game was anemic with Russell Wilson. Malik Neighbors was very upset with, he said, the energy of the offense. I think Jordan Love is going to have more success against that Washington Commanders pass defense. They do. Marshawn Lattimore isn't the same Pro Bowl type player he used to be. And Jordan Love has a lot of playmakers. He's got Dontavion Wicks. He's got Matthew Golden, rookie first rounder. He's got Romeo Dobbs. He's got some guys. Jaden Reed is playing, so I'll take the over on Jordan Love's passing yards.
Okay, so right now that line is not up. Let's see, 233.5. So 233.5. You like that one?
I like it. I don't love it.
Okay.
I like it. I wish it
Okay.
was about 230, but
Yeah.
it is. I want a roll round number. Maybe it comes down by Thursday, but it is
It
what it is.
could. And so if you're watching this later in the week, then maybe you can get out there and do it for a better line. But so 233 and a half. So we're going to do that one. So we got that more. 60% of the bettors so far are there. So, okay. So we got Jordan Love. You got two more, Mo, to make your picks here on Sleeper Picks.
Go with Michael Parsons getting a sack. He didn't play a
Mm,
full slate, didn't play a full workload on Sunday. Obviously, his first game. He also was dealing with a back injury coming into it. But Jaden Daniels, I believe, took 3 sacks in week 1 against the Giants. And the Giants have a pretty good pass rush with Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, also Kayvon Thibodeau. So Michael Parsons was active. It didn't show in the box score, but I think he gets a sack
yeah.
on
And
Jaden Daniels on Thursday.
he got that late sack. I know Green Bay fans, that's what they wanted. They just wanted a sack out of him, period. And they got it there. All right. Now switching to the Commanders, give me one there. You want to go with Jaden Daniels, or you got another player in mind?
Jaden Daniels rushing yards. I'd like to know what his line is there because I think he's going to be in connection to the Michael Parsons sack. I think he's going to be running for his life quite a bit, and
Yep.
he's also still a rushing quarterback. Now, not just a rushing quarterback, a dual threat quarterback, but picked up some yards in that week 1 game against the Giants, running away from their defenders. I think he has to do the same against the Packers on Thursday.
Okay, Mo, the stat right now for this daily
45,
fantasy pick is 49 and a
49
half.
and a half. Would love it at 45, but if you can find the alternate line,
Well, we can
by all
do
means.
the most popular on the Sleeper app right now is 40 plus. You want to go 40 plus instead?
Sure.
Because you can go the 49 and a half. It's going to pay you a little more if you nail it, but at 40, not much less at 1.37 times. So let's do that. Let's do the 1.37 option there at 40 plus yards. So there you go. Mo has selected Jordan Love over 233 yards there. Micah Parsons with 1 sack, over a half sack, because that's where the number is right now on the Sleeper Picks app as we do this. And Jaden Daniels, 40 plus rushing yards. So Mo, on a $20 bet, you're making, I should say on a $20 pick, you're making 84.80 on this one. You can do a flex and make a little bit less if you want to get 3 correct. It's 37.20, 37.60, and on 2 correct, it's $23. So you can make a few bucks there as well. But that's what's great about the Sleeper app is it lets you select. If you want to increase your odds a little more, you cut down on your winnings a little bit. But I like Mo's picks here for $84. But this is something that is part of this daily fantasy pick from Sleeper. So there you go. That's your picks for Thursday night's game from Mostradamus himself. Don't forget, thanks to the Sleeper Picks app, you can get a $100 match on your $100 deposit using the code GENTY. That's using the code GENTY that you can only get here at Silver and Black today. Rules and regulations apply. Check out the Sleeper app for more details and enjoy the game. Welcome back. Segment number 2, Silver and Black. Today, the Tuesday edition Odyssey Sports Original Podcast, brought to you on video by our good friends at Sleeper Picks. Don't forget, use the $100 match deposit on your first $100. The code is GENTY, folks. GENTY. Check out the previous segment, and you saw Mo make his picks. Man, I like those, man. This is going to be a good game on Thursday. Washington and Green Bay, big NFC matchup. Excited for this one. Both those quarterbacks have started off the season on a hot one.
Yeah, and these two teams could potentially meet in the playoffs because I think they're both playoff teams. I think Green Bay wins their division. I've said that before the Michael Parsons trade that they were the best team in that division because the continuity. You saw how out of sorts the Lions look without both their offensive and defensive coordinators from last year.
Oh, yeah.
And as for the Washington Commanders, I don't expect them to win 12 games as they won last year, but I do still expect them to win double-digit games. Jaden Daniels is a gamer. As long as he can stay healthy and not get hit too much, the Washington Commanders should be a playoff team with that offense. They added Deebo Samuel, had 7 catches, 77 yards yesterday. You saw his impact. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, as they call him, Bill had a big game, 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. So they have some new faces on offense that can help out Jaden Daniels, and I think Washington's offense is going to be pretty exciting this year.
Yeah, first big test of the year for that Washington defense. All right, let's talk about the tests and challenges we saw with the Raiders this week. Even though they got the big win on the road against New England, there's things to work on. As Pete Carroll said, yeah, we got plenty to work on, even though we saw great progress in game number 1. there are still things to do in this longer week leading up to the big Monday night matchup in the AFC West between the Chargers and the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. And of course, one of those was the offensive line struggles. You look at Geno Smith, he got sacked 3 times and hit 9 times by the end of the first half. Okay. Not great. The offensive line also had difficulty creating those openings for the running backs. And that really helped, I think, contribute to Ashton Genty having a rough first go at it. But you look at what happened with this line, Mo, they had trouble with those combo blocks. You mentioned that in the first segment. We knew this would be a possibility. And I think that the one thing that you can say universally about offensive lines in the NFL is the more they play together, the more they get cohesive and they play better. Remember, you got a player in Jordan Meredith who actually had a fantastic game at center, and you have Jackson Powers Johnson, different story at right guard. You have DJ Glaze over there, not a very experienced player. And then you got your left side, Dylan Parham had a big penalty, and Colton Miller had a really good game as well, if you watch the film. But this unit is still learning to play together, and we certainly saw that in the first half.
So my biggest issues with the offensive line right now are the interior, except for Jordan Meredith. He said it. Jordan Meredith had the best game of the interior offensive lineman. Cole Miller had a really good game as a pass blocker. Overall, the unit struggled run blocking, though Jordan Meredith was probably their best run blocker. But you need more than one player playing well or blocking well up front to spring your running back for those big yards. Yes, Ashton Genty has to be a little bit more patient as time goes on, and I'm sure that will come along for him. But that unit has to build more chemistry. And now we saw it look good at the end of the preseason. It's another thing when you're going up against starters, and the Patriots were being very aggressive. One thing I noticed very early, and Mark John of Tape Don't Lie also pointed this out on Twitter, the Patriots were attacking blitz-wise. They were attacking the right side of the Raiders' offensive line. That's DJ Glaze and Jackson Powers Johnson. They were coming at those guys, and neither of them had an answer or were able to pick up the blitz. So if you're asking yourself, why is Jackson Powers Johnson a guard and not a center? Part of your answer may be there. Perhaps the Raiders are concerned about his ability to pick up things pre-snap. And if you're a center, I think people don't realize this. A lot of people don't understand the job of a center. It's not only just a block, but you have to be able to help the quarterback call out those pre-snap coverages for the defense. And if you have issues doing that, you're not going to be a very effective center. And you saw it again with Jackson Powers Johnson struggling to pick up those blitz looks. And this is why they were targeting him. And also DJ Glaze is inexperienced. Both those guys, second-year players. So the Patriots found a weakness and they attacked it. I believe DJ Glaze allowed 4 pressures on Sunday. Also, Dylan Parham had a rough day in pass protection. He allowed 3 pressures. So it wasn't just the right side. It was also Dylan Parham as well.
Yeah, the Jackson Powers Johnson thing concerns me. I know Raider fans love him because of his personality, but Alex Kappa's in the wings. I'm not saying he's some kind of savior, but Jackson Powers Johnson, not only did he struggle in play, he had 3 big penalties. Okay, 1 illegal man downfield happens. I get that. Then he had the play on the sideline, the extracurricular play. It just showed, I think, you have to be able to control your emotion, and you have to be able to, yes, you want to defend your teammate. He thought he got hit late on the sideline and whatnot, but by doing what he did, he put his team into a really difficult situation. And you just can't have that, especially when you're trying to learn and play the position better. And you're getting a lot of pressure. Like you said, New England was going to exploit that side, that right side. And so we got to see better decision making, because the hook could be pretty quick on him if they go out against the Chargers and we see a repeat of what Jackson Powers Johnson did. I'm not saying it's gonna. Maybe he battens down the hatches during practice this week and gets ready, but you're going to be facing another good defensive front with the Chargers, and they just can't have guys making critical errors like that. Where they're going to have to address it sooner versus later.
It's a copycat league, Scott. I'm sure the Chargers are going to go over the film and see that the Patriots are successful at pressuring Geno Smith. Geno Smith in total took 4 sacks.
Right.
A lot of that off of blitzes. So Raiders should expect to see a lot of blitz looks, or expect a lot of guys coming out of the second level, maybe a safety blitz, a cornerback blitz coming to test Jackson Powers Johnson and DJ Glaze on that right side, and also on stunts. And that's where Dylan Parham struggled with his pass protection. So the Chargers are going to give the Raiders all they can handle in the trenches, and they have to be prepared for that, along with blocking a lot better in the run game. Pete Carroll mentioned it multiple times in the post-game presser that the run game has to be more formidable to help balance that offense.
Right. Now, switching to the defensive backs, Mo, and some of the struggles there, what did you see? We talked about the great play. Caillou Blue Kelly obviously did really well, and Palomalo did well as well. You talked about Jeremy Chin is what he is, gave up the one touchdown, which was on a nice play. Could he have reacted a little
Yeah.
better? Maybe, but it was also just a nicely designed play, and it caught them off guard on the inside, going to the outside there with the receiver. But talk a little bit about what you saw there. Anything underscore the concerns you had going in or change your perception around it?
The only thing that maybe changed my perception a bit was that Darian Porter may be a backup longer than we initially thought. Like I thought Darian Porter would eventually be a starter very early in the season. But if Caillou Blue Kelly continues to be solid, again, they target him a lot. I know he
Yeah.
gave up some catches, but he didn't allow
Sure.
he didn't allow many big plays over the top. If Caillou Blue Kelly continues to play well, Darian Porter is going to be your cornerback number 3, and he may not see the field maybe mid-season or end of the season, depending on what what Eric Stokes does on the opposite side. Who, Eric Stokes didn't allow a lot of big plays either. Stephon Diggs is coming off a torn ACL, so I figured Stephon Diggs wouldn't be himself right away, even though he was playing. But the Raiders are going to get a tougher test against the Chargers. You saw how many times Justin Herbert was throwing the ball against the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Spagnuolo is a fantastic defensive coordinator. So the Raiders are going to get a much tougher challenge, and we're going to get a better idea where this defensive backfield is against the Chargers, assuming Justin Herbert throws just as much as he did against the Chiefs. So nothing really changed my mind other than Darian Porter may be a backup a little longer with Caillou Blue Kelly as cornerback number 2 opposite Eric Stokes.
And we talked earlier, we'll move to the linebackers. We talked about Tommy Eichenberg came in a reserve role and had to step in for Eldon Roberts, who went out with the injury. And we still don't know how long Eldon Roberts will be out. If he's out significant time, how much does that hurt that linebacking core?
So if Eldon Roberts is out for, let's say, more than 2 games, then we start to think, okay, how good can Tommy Eichenberg be in that rotation? Because Jamal Adams is in and out of the lineup. Of course, Jermaine Pratt and Devin White are your top 2 linebackers if Roberts is out. But when Jamal Adams is off the field, can Tommy Eichenberg hold up as that 3rd linebacker? And that'll be the big question. Now, a sprained elbow, I don't know what the prognosis is on how long a player is out with a sprained elbow. It's good to hear it's not a dislocated elbow.
Yes.
So we know that
he's not Xavier Worthy on my fantasy team.
So quick backstory. I traded Xavier Worthy to Scott in our fantasy league right before the season. Scott was up completely livid when he get well Xavier Worthy, but I know Scott was completely livid about that. But with Eldon Roberts, hopefully it's a short-term injury with that sprained elbow. But I will be looking at Tommy Eichenberg get more snaps if he is out for extended period.
And by the way, Mo, I was surprised by how well Devin White played. Devin White played pretty good. I'm not saying it's the Devin White of 5 years ago, but he did play much better than we've seen him play. And it's just one game, small sample size, but we saw him play a lot better. That was very encouraging.
There's a reason why Travion Henderson didn't get loose for big yards and the Patriots didn't run the. Remember, Josh McDaniels' offense, they want to run the football as well. So the reason the Patriots were kind of bottled up in the run game was partially because the Raiders linebackers did a good job filling in and run fitting, because Eldon Roberts went down fairly early in that game, if I remember correctly. So not only credit to the defensive line, but the linebackers, particularly Devin White. I believe he led the team with 11 tackles.
Yep.
He was all over the field. And I think Pete Carroll called him a hammer. And that's what you like to see out of Devin White. That's when he's at his best, when he's coming downhill.
Right. And what you saw out of that defense, particularly in the second half, that's got to be the minimum level you see out of them coming into this Monday night game, right? And we'll talk about, obviously, the matchup coming up on Thursday, and we'll have a guest on. Scott Kaplan from ESPN Los Angeles is going to be on with us to talk about the Chargers. And but this schedule. Now, I talked about the early schedule being a little lighter for the Raiders. Not completely so, because you come into this matchup with the Chargers. I know everybody wants to beat the crap out of the Chargers, and they feel like the Chargers are always overrated. Good team. You saw what they did to Kansas City down in Sao Paulo. So you're going to see a really important matchup. That defense has to keep that level and get even better against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Then you have Jaden Daniels and the Commanders the very next week. There's no rest for this unit, Mo. This unit, that's why the health is such a big deal. And Brock Bowers on the offense, too. We don't have an official report on him yet till later in the week. Sounds like he's going to be okay, and it maybe was just maybe a deep contusion or something like that. So we'll see if it nags or not. But it's important for this team to stay healthy and to keep that momentum from the second half and come out like that against the Chargers in a big game on Monday night.
And also, Daniel Jones looked good for the Colts. The Raiders have the Colts early in the season. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is on the Sam Darnold pathway to career redemption, but he showed that if you're vulnerable on the back end, which the Dolphins are because they have secondary that's in shambles after they traded Jalen Ramsey, Daniel Jones showed that he could take advantage of a weak secondary.
Yep.
And so I wouldn't overlook the Colts either. They could be a lot better than many expected. So you're right. And this is also why that first game against the Patriots is very important for the Raiders to win.
Agreed.
Right? Because you talked about the two games following, the Chargers and the Commanders, two playoff caliber teams, right? You don't want to start off 0-3. And I'm not saying the Raiders are going to lose to both those teams coming up, but you want to beat a lesser team with a second-year quarterback, a new coaching staff. Christian Gonzalez is out. Will Campbell came in with an ankle injury, and they were able to take advantage of that. So there were a lot of advantages for the Raiders coming into that game, and they needed to take advantage of those, and they did, and they came out with the win, which is, again, big for this football team.
Massive. And after the Charger game, you got a short week, and you got to go back to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. So the Charger game actually taking on even more importance. And, of course, it's a divisional game, and so you want to win that, too, against the hated rivals and Jim Harbaugh. All right, we're going to step aside, take our final break on this edition of Silver and Black today. When we come back, we're going to take your phone calls. I think you probably have a few things to say, so we're going to get to as many as we can today. We were inundated with phone calls, which means you're all back. Welcome back. Didn't want to listen during the summer? That's okay. I get it, but now you're checked in. You're feeling good about the win, and you got lots to say, so we're going to get to those calls right after the break. You're on Silver and Black today with Mo and Scott. This is our final break. We're coming back right after and one. Welcome back. Home stretch here on Silver and Black today, segment number 3, which is your segment. That's right. We're getting to your phone calls now. You got a lot to say after the big win up in New England. The Josh McDaniels demon was exorcised. Right, Mo? I mean, everybody wanted to beat him. I kept seeing memes. I kept seeing all kinds of name calling and all that. By the way, I got to ask you this, and I'm sure my buddy Gangster Raider will love this. What did you think of Antonio Pierce's comments on the pregame show about his Raider situation? It's the first time he spoke about it publicly.
Kind of pointed the finger at the front office and everyone above him. He said he wanted the quarterback. He didn't get it. He wanted the running back. I think he said he wanted Josh Jacobs back. That didn't happen. So he basically said, I wanted certain things that I didn't get, which means there was some disagreement in alignment with the front office and the decision makers above him, and things didn't go the way he wanted them to go, and that's why they fell apart.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair to him, I'm sure some of that is true.
Yeah.
At the same time, going back to when Antonio Pierce was selected as head coach, we talked about this subject and the power and gravitas that a coach who has experience that comes in with a built-out staff and an established record, they just have more pull, right? Again, I'm not blaming it all on him because we know that the front office and all that had a lot to do with it as well. But I just thought, if a guy, because I saw a lot of people saying, well, he's going to get another chance to head coach. And it's just like when you say things like that, in my view, you can disagree with me and that's cool. But in my view, if you want another job in the NFL, it's probably better just to take the high road and say, you know what, things didn't go well. We couldn't get everything we needed to be successful as I wanted to, but hey, I wish them well, blah, blah. And he sort of did that in a backhanded way. He's a competitor. He's a linebacker. I mean, that's what I did like about the guy is he didn't give a crap and he would tell it like it is. But very interesting dynamic going into that game. But I think you saw the difference with a experienced coaching staff there. Pete Carroll did not select a Luke Getsy for his offensive coordinator, so it didn't help. But anyway, we'll close the chapter on that one. All right, let's get to your phone calls. First up is Bill. Let's see what Bill's got to say.
Hey, Scott and Mo, it's Bill from 757 Virginia. It looks like we got a dub now for the first game of the season. That's a good thing. And it's mainly because the offense was performing outstanding in most of the time. I mean, I saw some throws and catches that made my jaw drop. Definitely an improvement from last season, to say the least. The reason I'm calling, though, is I want to discuss penalties. We have got to clean that up somehow, some way this season, like next game. Because in times past, I mean, many years past, we have lost games because of penalties, and I guess that can happen to any team. But I have what Scott termed as football PTSD, and I have a really bad case of it. So I'm focused on those penalties right now. If we can clean that up, we'll probably be the best we can be. Anyway, okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bill, I like what you said there. The best that we can be, speaking as a Raider fan, and I think that's what you strive for. It doesn't mean you're going to be the best team in the league, but be the best that you can be. Again, 9 penalties, 81 yards. New England had 8 for 70. Mo, week 1 is always messy. There's a lot of penalties called as both teams struggle with the live action, full action of a regular season game. And plus, the officials. They're a little bit, I think, overzealous as well until they settle in and kind of get into the gameplay as well. But certainly the Raiders need to improve there and started on the offensive line and a couple unforced errors on defense as well.
So Pete Carroll pointed out 2 penalties that he thought, were ticky-tack. The Caillou Blue Kelly DPI, which is I totally agree with. Watch it back. Yeah. Matt Collins makes contact with Caillou Blue Kelly before he does. Whatever. And he pointed out another, I think it was a pass play where he felt like it could have gone either way. What the Raiders have to cut down on is the clear unnecessary stuff. We talked about Jackson Powers Johnson, an eligible man downfield. More so the unnecessary roughness. Cut down on the pre-snap penalties. Cut down on the pre-snap penalties and the roughness stuff. If you can cut down on those and you can cut your penalties in half, it's a step in the right direction. But the pre-snap penalties are what kills you, the false starts and all of that stuff. The DPIs, the pass interferences, every week I see a pass interference penalty that you're like,
shouldn't be called.
What shouldn't be called. And referees, sometimes don't see it or make a mistake or think they saw something that they didn't. Those can go either way. Pre-snap penalties, unnecessary roughness penalties, can't have it.
And Bill, at least the Raiders didn't spit on anybody, right? So they got that going for them. Although there was flashbacks to the Tuck Rule game late in the game when Max Crosby looked like it was a strip, but then it was ruled an incomplete pass. I think Pete Carroll mentioned that one too as well. Bill in Virginia, thanks, man. All right, next caller is Josh. Here's Josh.
Hey, Scott and Mo. This is Josh from the Central Valley in California. Look, what a joy it is to have a quarterback like this. My word, like I don't remember the last time I remember having a quarterback like this was Rich Gannon in 2002. And no slight to Derek or DC or whoever wanted to say anything, right? The last time I felt good about a quarterback playing like this in a long time was Rich Gannon. I'm very happy, very pleased with the way the offense has handled the ball. Man, even shout out to the defense. I mean, they give up, 130 yards in the second half, and then the 3 points towards the end of the game. So they did a great job as well. But I do have one issue. It's the center guard combo with Jackson Powers Johnson and Jordan Meredith. I understand, they're working in different, positions this year. But, man, it was hard to see Genty get some running lanes going through there. And I'm no expert by any means. I'm a novice when it comes to O-line blocking. But Powers Johnson frustrated. So does Meredith. But let me know if you think the same, Scott. But go Raiders. Week 1 win. Enjoy, baby. Peace.
All right, there you go, Josh. Thanks for the call, man. Listen, Jackson Powers Johnson, also Dylan Parham on the other side, and we talked about DJ Glaze earlier. Jordan Meredith did a good job. I mean, he did a great job. As you said, he was the best interior defense or offensive lineman in the game, and there's no question. So I don't think there's any problem at center at all. But he is right about those blocks on both sides clearing space for Ashton Genty, who did have space at times, but also was a little impatient himself.
So I think it was one of the former PFF guys, Steve, who used to work for PFF, is now with the 33rd team. Mm-hmm. He had a stat out, and Ashton Genty, I think, was minus 0.3 yards per carry before contact. So this means that he's getting hit before he even
Yeah,
he's
before
getting
he
hit
even gets
before
to the
he
line.
make the line of scrimmage. So Patriots defenders in the backfield, again, a lot of that is on the offensive line. Pete Carroll pointed that out, that it's going to take some time. So I'm willing to be patient with the offensive line as they grow together. We've seen Jackson Powers-Johnson play well at guard. So this isn't a totally new position for him. But I would assume that Jackson Powers-Johnson, having won the Remington Award trophy in college, wanted to play center. So in his mind, it may be an adjustment for him knowing that, okay, my career, my short-term career under this coaching staff is going to be as a guard. So you have to adjust your mentality and adjust your expectations. And it could take him some time to do that. But I'm not going to say Jackson Powers-Johnson is some big bust and he's going to be benched yet.
No,
give
even.
it some time.
Yeah, he's got to work into that, and he's got a lot of talent, man. This is why fans fell in love with him, because you can see it at times.
Yep.
Now, it was at center last year, but at guard, I think you'll see it too. So you got to give him a little bit of time there to develop. So we'll see how it goes. All right, we appreciate it, Josh. Now we move on to our buddy Gen X Raider.
Yeah. Hi, Scott. Hi, Mo. Gen X Raider here from Massachusetts. So I got my wish, and the Raiders won on Sunday. It was a nice, solid win for the Raiders yesterday. Great way to start off the season. Thoughts on the game? I thought the run game is still a little sluggish. I think the offensive line has to come together and play better, or at least play better consistently. They seemed to allow some pressures, and the Pats were able to slow down Geno Smith after that first touchdown to Trey Tucker. There were some bursts from Ashton Genty. I think there was one play, I think maybe where he got his longest run of 9 yards. There was a nice hole, and need to see more of that, I guess, from the offensive line. Not sure what Mike Vrabel was thinking, punting the ball late in the game. They needed 2 scores, I think, but that helped the Raiders, so thank you, Mike Vrabel. Great clutch play to Dante Thornton to seal the game. I was not expecting an aggressive play like that. Haven't seen that in a while, and that was awesome. But let's see what they can do against the Chargers. Let's see if they can beat a highly touted Chargers team at home. Again, I'm really looking to see if the run game can get going. I want to see long, sustained drives, and hopefully they can keep the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands. So, thanks for listening. Hope you have a great week, and go Raiders.
Great call. Appreciate it, my man. Gen X Raider. Mo, there was also that one run by Genty where he was heading outside and he slipped. He lost his balance where he was going to be one-on. I was looking forward to that, because if you watched him in college, when he got around that end and used a stiff arm, I know he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's strong. And I was disappointed that he didn't get that run fulfilled.
Right. Yeah, I remember that play as well. And now just called it out pretty well. One other thing I want to point out, and it hasn't been mentioned yet, and I think it's kind of flown under the radar. Raheem Mostert was a healthy scratch. I don't understand that. They kept him on the 50-man depth chart, right? He's supposed to be the primary third down back. He's a healthy scratch for week 1 of the season. I'm not saying Zamir White didn't earn a role on that roster in at least, a few touches. But what was the point of keeping Zamir White and Raheem Mostert if one of those guys is going to be a healthy scratch? You could have used that position, that roster spot for a player on defense, an extra player on defense. But just something to look out for, because you don't want to give Ashton Genty too many touches, because you want him to be fresh for the run game. You need that natural pass catcher out of the backfield if you want to do the short passing game. That's where Raheem Mostert could be valuable. He's still a pretty good pass catcher out of the backfield. So if the Raiders don't get going on the ground against the Chargers, they're going to have to go to the short passing game. And I wonder if they're going to have Raheem Mostert available for that one next Monday.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I had written it down in the pregame when we got the inactive list, and it puzzled me as well. I know Zamir White obviously plays special teams on kickoff returns and whatnot, so he's got a role no matter what. So it didn't make much sense to me, but we'll find out more as we move along. If he's another healthy scratch against the Chargers, which I would be shocked by, but you never know. So something to keep your eye on. All right, now we're going behind bars. That's right. Pastor Mike behind bars.
Scott, Mo, it's Pastor Mike behind bars. Well, okay, post-game show. I listened to it. I was kind of busy, but I just have to say this about this first game. At halftime, I was pissed. I was so mad. I just felt like our defense isn't playing well. Offense is not, sputtered. Offensive line didn't block well. I'm thinking, man, this is just not good. Not good. I mean, totally pissed. Then they came out in the second half and they made the adjustments. Can I just say, you know what? It helps when you have adults in the room, right? Coaching matters. Absolutely. Chip Kelly made the adjustments he needed to make. Patrick Graham made the adjustments they needed to make. Defense came back and shut them down. I'm so pumped about that. Now, I know this. We ain't winning the Super Bowl. Well, maybe we'll win the Super Bowl, but that's not what I'm thinking. We're not world beaters at this point right now, but you know what? Game one's under our belt. We got our rivals coming in Monday night, going to be there with my son. It's going to be great. And I feel good. I'm nervous about this game, but I think, I'm hoping that, being at home, Geno indoors has, great stats. We'll see what happens. But yeah, okay. You want to know, baby. Here we go. Raiders.
Pastor Mike behind bars, thanks for all the work you do, man. We appreciate it. Mo, it's true. Look, even our good friend Murph was posting during the game. He was all, we're back. And then 2 minutes later, he's like, oh, we're back to what we usually are used to. And I don't blame fans at all, because listen, you and I have been doing this show for a long time. We're used to it as well. And so I was like, okay, well, I was less emotional about it. I was still like, oh man, if they come out and look like this in the second half, it could be a long day. But they didn't do that. And so I think that he talked about the adjustments, Chip Kelly's adjustments, Patrick Graham's adjustments, attacking that New England offense and flustering Drake May at quarterback and shutting down the run game. That's why this was such a big win, because of what they overcame. That adversity, that confidence is so big, because the guys in the locker room have to believe first. And yes, they're going to tell you they believe going into the game, but to go through it and actually have it all work out, including what your coaches are telling you to do, including the players executing on the field, big deal.
How many times have I gone on this show and I said coaching matters, right? You got to have the right players to execute, obviously, but the difference in the coaching staff from this year and last year, and this is not a shot at Antonio Pierce, but you're down, not by, double digits or 2 possessions or anything, but you're, obviously you're struggling on offense. Your defense is giving up some yards to Kayshon Boutte on the outside, but now you have Pete Carroll there and not Antonio Pierce. And Pete Carroll's been doing this quite a long time, a lot more than Antonio Pierce has been doing it. Now you have Chip Kelly, who's a proven OC, over Luke Getsy, who's an OC who had a lot to prove. There's a big difference there. And that's where you get the difference between what they looked like in the first half and how they adjusted and what they look like in the second half. That's you give credit to the players making the plays, but that's also a product of good coaching.
Yeah, and you also have, I think, the change on defense. Like they talked about on the broadcast too. Patrick Graham used the zero blitz last year more than any coach in the NFL. And you still saw some of that, but you also saw that Pete Carroll influence to change it up. So Patrick Graham, to his credit, stayed with Pete Carroll, and he's adjusted his approach as well. So Patrick Graham, who we all thought, hey, this guy could be a pretty good coach, but maybe it was just the wrong situation, we saw him adapt, which I think is a very encouraging piece of news as well coming out of that game. So, all right, Pastor Mike, appreciate the call as always. Now we're going out to North Carolina and Tar Heel Tom. At least I think we are. Tom, you there?
Scott,
there he
Mo, it is Tar Heel Tom. This is the best time of the year, because now we get your pods in our ears after a Raiders victory, and this is beautiful. This has been an awesome win, a great road win, and I kind of want to start with the highlights. I want to talk about this defense. Pass coverage, I thought, in the first half, really, really leaky. I thought that they were kind of just leaving guys enough time and space to be able to make plays, and it kind of hurt us a little bit. But they rounded out in the second half. That turnover by either way, he had a really nice second half, made some really good plays. I want to talk about the run defense. Huge game. Devin White looked phenomenal. I thought Tyree Wilson was making plays too. I thought the front seven actually played a really good football game. They started to get good pressure in the second half. They made adjustments. And I overall thought this was a really good game by the defense. I thought this was phenomenal. Offensively, I loved seeing everybody get in the mix. I thought Geno Smith looked really good in his first game as a Raider. Really liked throwing to some tight windows. But overall, this was a fantastic win. Vibes should be high. We should feel pretty good about this coming into Monday Night Football next week. But, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I thought this was a great win. So,
all right, there's Tommy. Got cut off because he had that big pause at the beginning. I don't know what happened there. But, hey, Tom, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Mo, give me your notes on Tyree Wilson.
Breakout seat. No. Tyree Wilson, I felt like coming in could take advantage of Will Campbell. As I talked about, he was questionable coming into the game with an ankle injury. I felt like Will Campbell, there's a lot of talk about his short T-Rex arms. And Tyree Wilson is the complete opposite. Athlete, long wingspan. Felt like he could take advantage of the weakness there on that side of the offensive line for the Patriots, and as well as Malcolm Kuntz, and that's exactly what they did. So it wasn't surprising to me that Tyree Wilson got a sack early this season. I just hope that he's able to build on this against tougher competition.
Absolutely. Great call, Tom, as always. All right, now we go down. We're staying on the eastern seaboard. We're going down to Florida with South Florida Raider. Here he is.
Hey, good morning on this glorious Monday. This is Darkman in the 305, a.k.a. South Florida Raider. I'm just chiming in. The Raiders looked confident yesterday, something they didn't look like at all last year. Last year was the dullest season in Raider history, in my opinion. Devin White is a beast, so anyone who thinks he's washed up doesn't know what they're talking about. I still remember what he did to the Raiders last time he came into Allegiant as a Buccaneer. He tore us up, man. Jacoby Myers, I think he should get paid. Bowers is our true number one, and Myers is a middle to low end number one in this league. He can be a great complement to Bowers, as we saw yesterday. Some of my breakout players for this year, Palomar, Tyree Wilson, and Michael Mayer on offense. I think these guys are going to have a hell of a year for the Raiders. They're not going to see – no one's going to see them coming. I'm just so excited to see my team competitive again. I think that's what most Raider fans want. They want to see their team in the fight. So I'm looking forward to a great year, man. This is Darkman in the 305 out.
All right, Darkman, South Florida Raider, whatever he wants to call himself is fine with me. If he wants to call himself all of that, I'm okay with that. But a good call there. I can't disagree with any of it.
I can't either. Devin White, can't give enough love to Devin White, who came in. Remember, Devin White's only 27 years old. So this is not some 30-year-old linebacker who's at the end of his career. If Devin White has a good year, he could get paid in the offseason and get a pretty decent sized contract. He's only making about $1 million this year, relatively to other NFL players, which is a drop in the bucket. But he's rejuvenated. And like I said, he's best when he's going downhill. As long as the Raiders use him to his strengths. Now, he can cover a bit in spots, but you don't want him to be in your primary coverage linebacker. But if you send him at the line of scrimmage to stop the run, which is what he did on Sunday, and you can also send him at the quarterback. He's also a pretty good pass rusher from the second level. I believe 1 year he had 9.5 sacks. So I'm waiting to see Devin White get involved in the pass rushing game. If he does that, Raider fans will go crazy over him. And they'll say, you got to give this guy extension right now. But it's good to see Devin White back to being closer to the Devin White we saw in his early years in Tampa Bay.
Now, Mo, it's only been 1 week, and no team wants distractions, especially when things are going well. The Jacoby Myers situation, of course, we know about the trade demand. We know he wants a new deal that they just – and he's been very public to say, look, I asked him for something, and they said no. Does this continue, or did game one help maybe John Spytek say, maybe I should think about how we can take care of him sooner versus later?
I have a very different take about this Jacoby Myers situation. I do think he should get paid. But I think the way he's approaching it doesn't get him paid. Vinny Bonsignore said this. He's our buddy over at the Las Vegas Review-Journal. He said this, and I totally agree. The way Jacoby Myers has handled this as professional as possible, it's commendable. You love that in a player. Locker room guys. I believe on Sunday he said this is his happy place, just being on the field with his guys, and that's great. He's going about business as usual, but that doesn't pressure the front office to give him the money. John Spytek is looking at this saying, well, if he's not going to press the issue, well, we'll just keep going the way it is. These players, Scott, the reason why they hold out, hold in, have these trade requests is because they're trying to force urgency. If you don't pay me, I'm not going to be there. And then you'll need me. Jacoby Myers is saying, I'm going to go about work as usual, and I'm going to be there for my guys. Again, which is a great thing for the locker room. But from a front office perspective, you're saying, okay, he's going to be there. We don't have to pay him. He's going to be there anyway. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a relationship. If a person knows you're going to be there regardless of how you treat them, they're gonna be like, oh, whatever. I don't need to change. I don't need to change anything. So where's the urgency for the Raiders to pay Jacoby Myers if they know he's going to be on the field on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday? So while it's commendable, again, it is commendable. You want a guy just like Jacoby Myers in that locker room, but that attitude is not going to get him paid.
No, and I think that now he's got to just ball it out, play well, so he can get a deal somewhere next year. Yeah. Now, it doesn't give him guaranteed money past this year, so if something unfortunately happens to him, he's not guaranteed anymore, but we'll see what happens. So if you're waiting for the Raiders to give him money because he's playing well, Mo, you just encapsulated it perfectly. Ain't going to happen. Just not going to happen. It should happen in some way.
It should. I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong and it does happen. It could happen like middle of the season. Like if there's an injury, right? Let's say there's an injury. Hopefully it's not. Let's say there's an injury, Scott. Then I think it increases the urgency. But Jacoby Myers has shown that he's not the type of person that's going to say, I'm going to take advantage of the situation and now hold out and they're going to need me.
Exactly. So, like some former Raiders wide receivers who didn't play when they probably could have played, and tight ends. Excuse me. All right. Appreciate the call, man. All right. Now, last call of the day is our buddy Yan Dog. Here's Yan Dog.
Hey, Brother Mo, Brother Scott. It's Yan Dog. A win is a win. I called it 31-17 Raiders, and they won 20-13. So, and I was talking to Tarek, and we different. He thinks that they might have possibility they might lose. And I say you got to keep your confidence up, though. But I agree with him on one thing, and that Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator is his son. I don't. Not too keen on him, guys, and neither was Tarek. We were just talking after the game was over with, and at least a win is a win. We start off 1-0, so I only need 10 more wins because I told you I think they were going to go 11-6. Kind of having my doubts, but we'll see what happens. And basically, that's it for the first game. There'll be more to talk about during the year, so I'll close shop here real quick, and I appreciate your time, guys. Keep up the good work. Yan Dog, over and out.
There we go. There's Yan Dog. One correction, Yan Dog. Brennan Carroll is the offensive line coach, not offensive coordinator. I'm sure that's what you meant. Mo brought that up the day he was hired. And Mo, if there continues to be trouble up there, I don't see Pete Carroll firing his son anytime in the near future. But it continues to be a big, big question mark as whether not only the offensive line, but whether or not he's the guy to make sure that that offensive line gets to where it needs to be.
Right. I don't see him firing his son, but I could see someone else sharing those responsibilities to coach up the offensive line just to kind of cover that up. But again, I'm willing to give it some time. It's one game. Let's see what the offensive line looks like against the Chargers. Khalil Mack, Tuli, Tuipulotu. Bud Dupree's over there. Career resurgence with the Chargers as well. They have a pretty good defensive coordinator. The Chargers allowed the fewest points last year. So the Raiders are up against another tough one. Don't be surprised if it's another lower scoring game than you expected. I had the Raiders winning. If you remember the last show that we did before this one, I had the Raiders win. I believe I said 23-20, something like that. And I said it was going to be on the lowest scoring side. So because remember you said, Scott, early in the show, it's the first week. Teams are filling each other out. The Patriots have a lot of new. The Raiders have some new there, young players. It takes some time to get things in rhythm. And that's why, again, I'm willing to give the offensive line some time, give them it a few weeks.
Yeah, but I get it. You know, when you come out of a win, that was a big win, first of all. You should feel really, really good, Yan Dog.
Yeah.
But I understand the concern because you're looking long term. So we'll see how it all nets out. Mo, before we get out of here, as let's come to the end of the show, let everybody know what you got coming up this week so they can follow you.
Bleacher Report live segments are one is up today. Tuesday. One will be up tomorrow. Just some takeaways from the game that I had after watching the game over again and over again and over again. Also, as Scott mentioned earlier, Sportsnet Raiders Daily. I have pieces there up every morning talking about the latest of what's going on. If there's an update on the Brock Bowers or a Landon Roberts situation, I'll have it up there. Also, I may get into some of the Antonio Pierce's comments a little more in that Raiders Daily piece because I thought there are some there's some nuggets in there that I want to dive into. And then back here with you, Scott, on Thursday for another Silver and Black Today episode, of course, with our sleeper sponsor that we're using for picks.
Yes.
That we're looking for.
And we'll do Raider picks for the Raider Charger game from Sleeper on the Sleeper Picks app coming back. Also, on Thursday's show, we're going to be talking with Scott Kaplan of ESPN Los Angeles. Of course, covers the Chargers. That goes back to his San Diego days because he was in San Diego. So he's covered the Chargers for years, had some great battles with their front office and ownership. It's pretty funny. But nonetheless, we'll get the lowdown on the LA Chargers ahead of the game with Scott Kaplan on Thursday. All right, do us a favor. Make sure, get that free $100. Go to the Sleeper Picks app. Use the code GENTY. That's Genty, as in Ashton Genty. Get a $100 deposit match up to $100. Rules and regulations apply there. Play daily fantasy with us. Mo just gave you 3 great picks for Thursday night's game. We're going to give you more for Sunday on Thursday's show, as well as get to your calls and, of course, get a preview of the Chargers game. We certainly appreciate you being with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you get your audio, do us a big favor, rate and review. That helps us out significantly. If you're watching us on video, thanks Sleeper, again, Sleeper Picks app, for sponsoring the show all season long and giving you that free $100 with the code GENTY. And also subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and hit that notifications bell. For our producer, Mike Robier, for Mo Moten, I am Scott Branson. This has been Silver and Black Today. We'll see you guys all on Thursday. Take care now.